You're listening to the Ballbusters podcast.
Okay, well, it would appear that I am live on YouTube at the moment, and I'll probably repurpose this for the Spotify and the rest of the platforms, I guess. Let's just take a look at this real quick. I'm looking at the Constitution of the United States. It's a little pamphlet here for those of you who are going to be listening later. I'm holding it up. I got it at a firearms dealer that is, personal friend of mine, owns a couple stores here and elsewhere. And it's a pretty decent version of it. It's like the authenticated version of the Bill of Rights with the preamble. It has the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution in here. You'd obviously have a lot thicker book if you had the Federalist Papers in here as well. But we're going to go over this real quick. I'm going to do a little bit of reading. We're going to focus mainly on the Declaration of Independence. But first, I want to address something. I'm not sure if somebody has or if it seems like a common assumption among people that if you're on social media, it means that you either are in servitude, I guess, to your audience, or that you're out there because you're seeking the approval of others. And that is not what I do here. Okay? The critiquement of how I conduct my show is your criticism and any type of hostile rudeness on your behalf only makes you look like a total fucking asshole. Okay? Because first of all, I'm not here for you. I'm here for me because I enjoy doing this. I'm not here and I'm not bound by anything. Nothing that I do here do I get paid for. In fact, I pay money to provide the platform that distributes that which I create. And when I say create, I mean I do the research, I do all the analyzing of all the data, and seek out more books and more information on these topics, get excited or interested or intrigued by the conclusions, and then I put it on record so that it's there, so that maybe someday in the future, when people have better values and a head on their shoulders, they'll seek this information out when it's erased in other places. And it'll be here for my daughter. And that, in all, the only reason why I do this at all, because I already know what I think. Okay? But for people out there, and for the other generations that are to follow, that might be a little bit better than the wastes of human flesh that we have here now, I'm putting this information together that I think is important. I pay to be here, so no one gets to tell me that I need to do this or I do that or that they don't like me or they don't like the way I do. Then don't fucking watch. You're watching for a particular reason because you know the information is good. If you don't like me, shut the fuck up about it. I don't care. I don't really care. If you're close enough, I have an extra set of boxing gloves. Otherwise, stop being a coward and hiding behind your computer. Okay? Harold Goulding and anybody else out there who wants to tell me that they don't like my personality, I don't care. This isn't about you. Get over yourself. Okay? Stick to the facts, stick to the information, and stop with the dog shit. This isn't high school. I'm not seeking your approval. I could give a flying fuck what you think about me. I'm doing this because I want to do this and because I paid to do this. In my domain, you don't get to tell me how to do things. And you don't get to criticize me and be rude and insulting without getting your ass booted the hell off. Are we clear now? Is everybody clear? How I handle my show and when I decide to have guests on and how I treat them, which is very well, I treat them very good, is none of your concern, and it's not for you to criticize. If you do, you won't ever see another video again because you'll be blocked. Is that clear? Thank you, because I don't want to hear this nonsense. Come here for the information, and if you don't like it, and you don't want to hear the truth, that's fine. And if you want to come here and you want to talk shit about the way I dress, or you want to say something about, how about this? Come find me, and we'll have a discussion man to man, face to face, instead of like a goddamn coward who hides behind their technology, their phone, their computer, and talks like a little bitch. Okay? Because I'm not afraid to face anybody if you really have a big problem with me. Otherwise, shut up and move on with your life. Don't watch it if you don't like it. Don't listen if you don't like it. Thank you. I'm not going to sit here devoting all this time and effort to making a solid quality video and then have somebody say, I don't like your curtains. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even the point of the video. Why am I mad? Because I pay money to sit in this chair. I'm not taking orders and dictate from other people. I don't think you guys understand that you guys are doing the exact same thing that the government does to you, and you're thinking that that's okay. You shouldn't be treating other people like this whatsoever. You shouldn't be talking to them as if they're your servants. They are not your servant. I am not your servant. Other people who are getting paid and need to, appease a particular audience that they gathered, that's different. I'm not that. Don't get us confused with each other. I'm not that person who his entire life and his complete, ability to provide for his family is contingent upon whether or not you are in approval of his videos. That isn't me at all. In fact, I make negative money to do this. I don't make anything doing this. I have options for people to use if they want to donate, if they care enough to do it, because they want to see the show grow, because they like the information that is being presented, and they like the guests that I bring on. But for 4 years solid almost, this was I'm a presenter, okay? I'm not an interviewer. I'm a presenter. I present things because I am a researcher and an analyzer. I do analysis and I scrutinize. I utilize pattern. Actually, pattern recognition is something that just kind of forms as you're doing this research, and I compile all the data, and then I scrutinize it some more, and then I look for more. And I've been doing this because it's a passion. And I've been sharing it because with all that effort, something has to be produced out of it. Otherwise, what the hell is the point if you keep it all to yourself? That is selfish. I'm not being selfish. I'm actually paying money to share this information with you. And if you don't appreciate that, that does not give you any right to start insulting me. Because I swear to God, if you ever talk to me the way you did on these comments in person, you'd be laid the fuck out. You wouldn't even know what the fuck happened to you. Moving on. So this is the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to read it verbatim as it's written, as it's reprinted in this pamphlet here, okay? And my headphones broke as I was putting on my head. I don't know, cheap, they snapped, so I taped them together so I could do this broadcast. All right, so Declaration of Independence. Action of Second Continental Congress, July 4th, 1776. July 2nd is when they actually finished it. July 4th is when it was ratified. Okay, and July 2nd was my daughter's birthday. The unanimous declaration of the 13th United States of America. Did I say that right, or did I say 13th? I did, didn't I? The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the, you guys should know this, and if you don't, I highly recommend you save this, share this, keep it for your kids, because who knows how much longer we're going to have this information. Memorize it. Memorize it and speak it aloud to your children and have them memorize it. And I'm saying this is my declaration right now. These words are a little old, but they're brand new in all forms and intents. And I am saying this right now on behalf of myself, that this is my declaration. Right this damn minute, this is my declaration of independence. And I'm saying this, and I think you understand what I mean, because we are under siege and this is tyranny. This is my declaration of independence as well. Renewed, because it's already been said perfectly once before. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political band which has connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and I'm going to throw in the one that they took out, property. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Do you understand what they're saying? You get stuck in a groove, and it's inconvenient to try to have to make change, even if you are being oppressed. It's tough to make changes. They get it. You're not alone. They felt the same woes. They had the same concerns. They had things that they could lose in the process, including all of their wealth, and potentially be executed by this British government should they sign documents to this, with this intent in mind. They could have been just completely, as we call it today, cancel cultured, but not be able to do trade anymore with and make their fortunes that they were making. But when a long train of this is important. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, isn't that what this whole Great Reset is all about? It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards and be a guardian to the innocent for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object to the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right estimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved, so he's making it difficult. Bureaucracy, jumping through hoops, sometimes physical, sometimes paperwork, right? Making the process impossible, difficult, inefficient. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. It's being a bully. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions from within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone. Gee, that sounds familiar. For the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harness our people and eat out their substance. That's taxation in a sense, and also just, petty little laws, petty little rules. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. So I'll repeat. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of legislatures, meaning intimidation tactics. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. Do you get that? So they're above the law. They're above the laws of that particular town, city, state. The military is above all, meaning they can be bullies and they can just pass right through. So why have laws at all? He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and acknowledged by our laws. So, do you understand what's going on there? He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. It's a freaking, just like kangaroo court, just like a, admiralty law or commercial law. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, which means sometimes in their homes, forced to have soldiers in their homes with them. For protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states. So they were up and murdering people and never being called in to see any, consequences for their actions. They're not held accountable. Does that sound like the ATF and the FBI at Waco to anybody? Or what they did at Randy Weaver's house, or what they continue to do? What happened at 9/11? What do they constantly still do right now? Why are they now? Now the ones in the white coats are doing most of the damage, and the FDA their response to that is to approve poisons for 6-month-old children, and there's already plans to make that part of the vaccine schedule for schools. 3 of them, 3 of those murderous shots, and remdesivir is the only thing that they're going to allow for the treatment, 6 months and above. Do you understand what's going on here? This is murder by different means. So I'm going to repeat that one. For protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. Gee, that sounds familiar too, doesn't it? What's going on with the food supply? What's going on with the supply chain altogether? What was going on with all the boats in the harbor without anybody offloading them at the longshoremen? Where did they go? What happened to that? What was that bottleneck? Now all of a sudden there's this mock war that's going on, and we're not allowed to trade with anybody, and gasoline this, other reason that, fertilizer, all of a sudden nitrogen's bad. Even though that's good for soil. Of course, CO2 is good for plants too. It's called food. But let's move on. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world. For imposing taxes on us without our consent. That's every day. That's so common that we don't even recognize that anymore. For depriving us, in many cases, of the benefits of trial by jury. Or we're the only ones that are held accountable for anything, because they certainly aren't. For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. Let me tell you a little something about the United Nations and their genocide laws. If you say something that offends the emotions of another person, they have been considering that for like the last couple decades to be genocide. Doesn't even make any sense. But that's, by their laws, they can take you out of your country and bring you to another country for trial. That is something that they can do. According to the United Nations, who actually does run our country, by the way. For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. Gee, that sounds like they're attacking the Second Amendment and all other sensibilities and common sense. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate over. Let me start that over. For suspending our own legislatures and fucking motherfucker. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. This is government every single day here in this country. But they do it with little minions, burning down cities. White people in white coats murdering everybody who they get their hands on, and without any accountability, and the stench just stinks to high heaven. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries, plainclothes killers. Okay, gee, that's probably a reason why you'd want to check people and who they are when they come across a border. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun, with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. Yeah, he's not worthy of his role as the ruler. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. When they're replacing our army because they're shooting them all up with this poison, they're going to be taking more people on who they will beat into compliance, submission, and loyalty, or else. And they'll take them from not just our country. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us. Gee, wow. Domestic insurrections, you say? Like every single thing that happened during the whole Floyd nonsense fiasco, the thing that still happens with Roe v. Wade now, the constant screamers of these politicians, mostly women that want to incite violence, like Maxine Waters and that one that looks like Beetlejuice, Littlefoot, or whatever the hell her name is, little, I don't know what. Anyway, he has excited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. They kill everybody, basically. In every stage of these In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the restitude of our intentions. It's hard to read this sometimes, it's a little messy. Restitudes of our intentions, due in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The signers. Do you wanna hear a list of the signers? In Georgia, you had Button Gwinnett, you had Lyman Hall, and George Walton. In North Carolina, you had William Hooper, Joseph Hughes, and John Penn. In South Carolina, Edward Rutledge, Thomas Hayward Jr., Thomas Lynch Jr., Arthur Middleton. Massachusetts, John Hancock, Samuel Adams, John Adams, Robert Treat Payne, and Elbridge Gerry. In Maryland, you had Samuel Chase, William Paca, Thomas Stone, and Charles Carroll of Carrollton. Virginia, you had George Wythe, Richard Henry Lee, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Harrison, Thomas Nelson Jr., Francis Lightfoot Lee, and Carter Braxton. So these the signers of the unanimous declaration, according to the authenticated list printed by the Order of Congress by January 18th, 1777. This is what this list is. Pennsylvania, Robert Morris, Benjamin Rush, Benjamin Franklin, John Morton, George Clymer, James Smith, George Taylor, James Wilson, George Ross. My former property managers were Rosses. Delaware, Caesar Rodney, George Reed, Thomas McKean. In New York, you had William Floyd, Philip Livingston, Francis Lewis, and Lewis Morris. Jersey, Richard Stockton, John Witherspoon, Francis Hopkins, John Hart, Abraham Clark. I'm telling you these names for a reason. I'm going to bring it to it in a second. In New Hampshire, you had Josiah Bartlett, William Whipple, and in Stillwater, where I used to live in New York, that was once called Whipple City. Matthew Thornton, and in Rhode Island, you had Stephen Hawkins, William Ellery. And in Connecticut, Roger Sherman, Samuel Huntington, William Williams, and Oliver Wolcott. All of these people could have been signing their death warrant that day. Then there was an awful lot of them. A lot of them wealthy, noblemen, people who had a lot to lose, not just people who had nothing to lose, signed this declaration because it was of that important. It was that important then, and that's this important now. So for those of you out there who think that, you can't get beyond your petty little critiquements and your little snide little remarks, well, what do you think is more important? Do you want to constantly bring people down who are trying to kind of awaken the spirit of freedom in America? Is that what your goal is to do? Is to discourage them from continuing on? Because you're not going to discourage me, but your attempts are really irritating, and they take away from the point here, and it's actually an injustice you're doing, not just to me, but to other people who are trying to absorb this. So just knock your nonsense off. So the preamble, which is hardly ever included or read in the Bill of Rights, goes as such. Congress of the United States, begun and held at the city of New York on Wednesday, the 4th of March, on 1789. Okay? The conventions of a number of the states having at the time of their adoption the Constitution expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added. So they rejected the Constitution. This is the point I was making in the video I just did for the radio show. They rejected, and this is what Bill Cooper had also said, they rejected the Constitution. They would not have passed it without the Bill of Rights. So that makes the Bill of Rights the most essential part of it, because without it, there would have been none. They wanted these provisions spelled out, the individual rights of man to be written and clear so as not to be misconstrued. Understood? And they would not pass the rest because of their fear of mistreatment and tyrannical behavior. So they made damn sure that this was included. So it's not just it's not just another document that's not part of the Constitution. It is the backbone. It is the strength of the Constitution. And the amendments, number 2, it makes all the others possible. So as I was saying, having, at the time of their adopting the Constitution, expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added, and as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will best ensure the benefits. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's me. That was just me because I started this. I pronounced it wrong. Okay. And as extending the ground of public confidence in the government will ensure the beneficent ends of its institution. Resolved by the Senate, resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, 2/3 of both houses concurring that the following articles be proposed to the legislatures of the several states as amendments to the Constitution of the United States, all or any of which articles, when ratified by 3/4 of the said legislatures, to be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the said Constitution. Part of the said Constitution, not an extra or separate document. It is part of the Constitution. Articles in addition to the amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America proposed by Congress and ratified by the legislatures of the United States pursuant to the 5th article of the original Constitution. And then this is Frederick Augustus Muhlenberg, Speaker of the House of Representatives, John Adams, Vice President of the United States and President of the Senate. Here we go. And for those of you who are not familiar with these amendments, I will go in detail and explain more about what they all mean, but I'm just going to read them today because we already did the Declaration of Independence, and we've already been on 36 minutes. Amendments to the Constitution of the United States of America. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Every single part of that has been broken by Orange Man himself, and just go back and look in 2018 if you don't agree with me, and completely annihilated during the COVID restrictions, lockdowns, and mandates. Amendment 2 is that this is why they are at war with us right here. This is number 2. A well-regulated militia, and I just got done explaining, and so did Bill. Actually, mostly Bill. I was just playing it for you in the previous. Go watch this. Go to speakfreeradio.com and click on the archives and find mine. Better yet, I'm going to post it, and it's going to be a cleaner copy because I edited it, and there was a little bit of audio mess ups in the beginning because there was some connection issues, and I did some enhancements. So I will actually be putting that up on Spotify here soon, and it'll also be in video format on my video platforms and Roku. So check it out there. All right. Amendment 2. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is kind of important, so let me read it again. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You know, it's not just because you bear arms so you can be in the militia. It's that everybody should be, and everybody is, part of a militia as per law. So if everybody is part of a militia as per law, every individual must have a firearm, must have the ability to defend themselves and whatever the technology of the day is, the common weapons of the day. Amendment 3, no soldier, and this is important because we just read the Declaration of Independence, is why they put this in here. No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in manner to be prescribed by law. Amendment 4, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. And no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath of affirmation, that's an actual document, and particularly describing the place to be searched, which means you're not supposed to go outside those guidelines either. You're supposed to know what you're looking for and know where to find it. Otherwise, you shouldn't be there at all, because then you're just snooping. You're just fishing. You get it? And the persons or things to be seized. So I will read it from the top. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause. You know what probable cause is? It's not suspicion, it's not hunch, it's not you ran a red light. Those aren't probable cause. Probable cause is being first-hand witness of an actual crime. I'm not talking about an infraction of a stupid code from a municipal corporation. That doesn't mean jaywalking. That doesn't mean not turning your blinker on. You can't be pulled. You're not supposed to be allowed to be pulled over for that. You're not supposed to be able to be stopped for that. You're not breaking the law. The moment they stop you, you're detained. You're detained. You're in custody. That's all there is. You're not moving about freely, are you? It's no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause. Probable cause means crime. It doesn't mean anything else but that. It doesn't mean, oh, well, they look suspicious. No, go stick that in your butt sideways. That's not what we're talking about here. You don't have the right to just say, oh, I'm suspicious of everybody, therefore I can pull over. No, or I can harass whomever, or I can go into the house of whomever, or I can look and snoop and stick my nose in people's property whenever I feel like it. The hell you can. The hell you can. And they have every right to put a bullet between your fucking eyes if you do that. Supported by oath of affirmation and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. That didn't happen at Waco. Amendment 5. No person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in case it's like my eyes don't see things in my except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. Catch that? That means, technically, you filing a 1040 is you're self-incriminating, or you're reporting on yourself. Do you understand? It's a false obligation. It's a fictitious obligation. It's not something. It's voluntary, but they don't tell you that. And they'll do very horrible, harsh things to you if you treat it as such. But they have no legal ground to do that. So I'll just start from the top again because I like this. I enjoy reading this, and like I said, this is what I do because I enjoy it. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger, comma, right, colon, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of the life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. How many times have they violated all this stuff so far? In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial. Yeah, how's that January 6th crowd doing over there? Without even having any... The very definition of political prisoner, the definition of torture. I mean, what are we talking about? What is going on over there? In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witness witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. The writ of habeas corpus has been completely suspended for the people. Some people are taken from their homes after the fact, not on the scene of Washington, D.C.'s little forced fiasco there. In suits, this is number 7. Amendment 7. In suits at common law, where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Amendment 8. Excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. I just think about January 6th again. Amendment 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. So just because we didn't mention it here doesn't mean we don't have more rights. The powers not, and this is number 10. Now there's Amendment 11 and 12 I'm also going to read, okay? Amendment 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people. And a lot of times when they talk about the states, they're talking about the people of the state, not the government. Okay, so the Amendment number 11. The 11th Amendment was ratified February 7th, 1795, so 4 years after, right? The judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. How many more amendments do they have? Do they do all of them here? Oh, wow. Apparently they do. Well, we're just concerned about the first 10 here today. And there you have it, guys. If you didn't get anything out of that, cool. If you did, awesome. Appreciate your time. Hope you appreciate mine as well. I've got a lot of work to do, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. Why do people say that? Why did I just say that? I get annoyed when people say that. Nobody's going to see me. I mean, I'm going to see them, at least. It's a radio show, for God's sake, and it's going to be on Thursday, 5 to 7 Eastern Standard Time on Speak Free Radio. I just did one today, 5 to 7 Eastern Standard Time, Speak Free Radio. It is not up on the on Spotify yet. The clean copy, because live is what live is, and live is, bound to have more variables and issues with it. But when I can take it and I can process it in DaVinci Resolve and get a nice finished product and add some bells and whistles to it and make it all nice and get out all the junk and all the dead spots, then it flows more fluidly and it's a better finished product. And that'll be up on Spotify shortly. And I don't think there was anything all that controversial for YouTube that I mentioned in this particular episode, so I will put the video format of this on YouTube as well. Thank you. Continue to, guys, and I'm going to tell you this right now, because instead of having people who actually have good intentions, what I get whenever I ask this is the exact opposite. So let's fix this, okay? The Roku TV channel is free. The link is in the description. If you enjoy the stuff that I do here and you want to help it be seen and grow, then go, if you have a Roku TV channel, and add the free channel to it, and then give it a proper rating, because there's a lot of people out there who don't like freedom, and there's a lot of people out there who don't like you or your family or your children's safety, and they want to make people like us seem like we're unpopular and that there's nothing of value here, so that you just move on and don't even take a look at it. Well, the hell with them. Who are they? This is our world, not theirs. Remember that. This is our world. And we'll take control of it one way or the other. We don't want control. We just want to be left alone. That is true. But we'll take control of our own lives in it and not let anybody else push us around, will we? You guys have a good one, and I'll see you again soon. And I did it again. We will talk again. Bye.